Hello YouTube viewers, welcome back to my channel. What I have here is an assortment of carat scrap gold that I've been accumulating for about the last month and a half. This is a piece that I've been refining and just adding to it and melted it up and just accumulated it. I've got, it's a 282 gram piece of pure gold. Over here I've got 31.4 grams of 18K gold assortment. In this bag I've got 184.6 grams of 10K gold scrap. All the stones, all the springs have been removed. And in this bag I've got 14K gold scrap, 395.2 grams of 14K. Again, all the springs, stones, and any non-gold material has been removed. And here I have about 1.5 kilos of sterling silver that I'll be using to quart all of this gold so I can refine it. I'm going to try to get a nice 20 troy ounce bar of pure gold to show for this experiment at the end. Alright, on this sheet here I've done some calculations. I've calculated that I need 803 grams of silver to quart this pure gold button. I need 60 grams of silver to quart the 18K gold that I have here. I need 117 grams of silver to quart the 10K gold. And I need 500 grams of silver to quart the bag of 14K gold. I'll need a total of 1,480.7 grams of silver to quart this gold right here. And what I have here is about 1.5 kilos of silver that I've invested probably 6-7 hours cleaning it all up, taking out all the springs and non-silver material. I'm just going to throw it on the scale over here, and you'll see I have 1,554.1 grams of silver. Take away the weight of the container, which is 89.3 grams. I've got 1,464.8 grams of silver in this container. On this same sheet here, I've calculated how much pure gold I expect to yield from these 4 samples up here. I've got 282 grams of pure gold in this puck up here. I've got 23 grams that I expect to yield out of the 18K, 76 grams out of the 10K, 230 grams of pure gold from the 14K. Everything totals up to be 611 grams of pure gold. That's what I expect to yield from this lot, or 19.6 troy ounces of pure gold. 2 more points I'd like to make here. I've calculated that I need 1,480 grams of silver to quart the gold. I've only got 1,464.8 grams. That's close enough. That'll work just fine. I'd rather have just a little less silver than too much. Alright, one other thing I'd like to point out before I get started here. I've calculated that I need 803.7 grams of silver in a 282 gram piece of gold here. That equals over 1 kilo of metal, molten metal, in a small melt dish like this. That's just not going to work for me. So what I'll do is I'll melt this piece of gold here and then pour it into some water to make some granules, and then split this up into about 3 batches to do the inquartation. This piece of pure gold is from several different refinings. I just kept adding it and melting it into a single unit here. It's probably 990 fine. Needs to be re-refined into pure gold. So I'm going to start out by melting this and then pouring it into water so I can break it up into 3 separate batches. Here's the gold. Pour it into the dish here. Just get the weight on it. And we come back with 181.7 grams. This gold is going to have all this silver added to it. So what I'm going to do is break this into probably 4 batches, because of the size of the melt dish that I'll be using to inquart the gold is a limiting factor here. So I'm going to have to break all this down into 4 different batches to inquart this amount of pure gold to repurify it. I've got all the metal broken up into groups here. What I'll do is alloy these two together to make a 25% gold alloy. These two, and so on. I've got 6, 7, 8 groups that I have to melt up and inquart with silver. And then we'll be able to do the nitric acid treatments. Alright, I'm going to take this first group here. This is 71.2 grams of 990 pure gold. And I'm adding the silver to it. And then we're going to go out here, melt this up, stir it up with a graphite rod, and then pour it into some water. Alright, here we go. We're going to melt the first group of metal, silver and gold together to form a 25% alloy. And then I'm going to pour it in this water to form granules for the next step. Those not familiar with the refining process who are watching this video may be asking themselves, why is he adding silver to the gold? The answer is, it's a refining technique called inquarting, where we add silver to the gold to form a 25% gold alloy. That way, in the next step, we can use concentrated nitric acid to remove all of the silver and all of the base metals out of that gold. Next, I add the second group of pure gold and silver to inquart it, and then I'll be pouring this into the water as well. Been working at it for about an hour now. I've got 3 more groups to go here. I just wanted to show you what I got so far. I was trying to get this to granulate, and what it's done here is just formed a great big piece of gold, inquarted gold, that'll have to be broken up somehow before I can get it into a beaker. But I'm going to continue the process. I'm going to get this out of this metal container here, get this into a beaker, get some acid on it, and start removing the silver and the base metals with some hot dilute nitric acid treatments. It's taken me 2 hours to get all the gold inquarted. I'm going to add some distilled water now to about the 1000 ml level. Next, I have my apparatus set up here that will deliver the nitric acid for me. Now what I'm going to do is put concentrated nitric acid in this funnel here, about half a liter of concentrated nitric acid going in. I've got a delivery tube set up to deliver the nitric acid into the beaker there that has the encorded gold. It is still water. And now what we'll do is we'll start a flow of concentrated nitric acid here down into the beaker and start dissolving out the base metals and the silver out of that encorded gold. Okay, my nitrate delivery apparatus has been going here. Just a slight trickle of acid going into the container there. It's been on medium heat, and I've been cooking in there now for about 20 minutes. We'll just keep adding that acid real slow until we get all the base metals and silver dissolved out of the gold. It's taken about an hour. And I've got the first half a liter of concentrated nitric into the beaker down there. So I'm going to add another 500 milliliters of concentrated nitric acid here. And we'll let this trickle on in just like it did earlier. This will be the second half liter of concentrated nitric acid going into the beaker now. I've got 1.5 liters of concentrated nitric in the beaker now. What I'm going to do, it's been on boiling for about 3 or 4 hours. I'm going to pour this solution off into this beaker here. I'm going to save this solution. It's full of silver. Carefully try to pour it off in here. Now I'm going to rinse the beaker off in here, and we'll pour the rinse water right in with our silver solution in the beaker we just poured off. This rinse water to the beaker up here in front. Move this over just a little here. Get this solution out of the way. And then we're going to add some distilled water back into our beaker here and continue with nitric acid treatments on this. It's looking pretty good so far. It's distilled water going in. It's a half a liter. And then here's another about 300 milliliters distilled water going in. Alright, I'm going to reinsert the nitric acid delivery tube here. And we're going to restart the flow of concentrated nitric acid into the beaker and continue with dissolving out all the silver and the base metals out of the gold. This is the fourth treatment of 1/2 liter of concentrated nitric acid with distilled water in there. So I've had 2 liters of concentrated nitric acid on this gold so far. I'm going to pour this off and do one more treatment. You can see the gold's looking pretty good now. It's a brown caramel color. That's what we want to see. It means all the silver and the base metals have been removed. I'll rinse it off with a little bit of distilled water here. Still got lots of silver in there. And we're going to go ahead and put some more nitric acid on here until I get a clear solution after I boil it in the hot nitric. And what that'll do for me is guarantee that all the silver is gone out of here. I don't want to put aqua regia on this as long as there's any silver in here, because it'll form silver chloride, and I want to avoid that. 20 troy ounces of gold here. Alright, that'll do it. Alright, I'm going to add some distilled water here, probably about a liter. Distilled water going in right now. That's about 800 milliliters or so. I guess that's 1 liter. And now I can pour the nitric acid straight in because most of the silver's already gone. So I'm just going to add about a half a liter of concentrated nitric acid here. And we'll let this boil and continue to remove the silver and base metals out of there. Alright, this is the 8th nitric acid boil. As you can see, there's no more fumes. And what we're going to do is pour this last nitric boil off. Get a look at the gold. Rinse it off real good with some distilled water. And there you can see the gold's got a nice caramel brown orange color to it. That's what we want to see. This gold right here with all these nitric acid treatments is very near pure gold. Very near 3/9 fine, just like it is. What I'm going to do is rinse it with a little bit of distilled water here. Try to get most of that green off of there. And that's how we want this gold to look, just like that. Nice brown color. Like I said, the gold right here, just like it is very close to 3/9 fine. Alright, I'm going to set it back on the hot plate here and add some water. And we'll rinse it off with some still water here. And that's ready for aqua regia. It's looking good. Alright, I'm going to pour the water off, the rinse water, and maybe rinse this off a couple more times here. This is just distilled water, and I'm going to add it right to the jar that has the dilute nitric to it in it. Alright, this is still hot. I'm going to add a little bit of hydrochloric acid to it now. We'll start dissolving the pure gold that's in here that's been parted with 8 500 milliliter nitric acid treatments. I'm adding 2 milliliters of concentrated sulfuric acid here to precipitate out any lead that may be present. I'm going to add a little bit more hydrochloric acid here. It's probably going to take about 2 liters of hydrochloric acid to dissolve all this gold. This is about 200 milliliters of concentrated nitric acid. It'll probably take this entire bottle to get all of this gold dissolved. I'm going to add a little bit in right now, get the reaction started. Alright, the gold has been dissolved. Took 2.5 liters of hydrochloric acid, 1.5 bottles, about 250 milliliters of concentrated nitric acid, and about 3 hours to get everything dissolved. I've turned the heat off and let this settle overnight. Pull it down, and you can see there's still a little bit of gold left in there undissolved. That's okay. What I'm going to do is draw off the clear settled liquid out of this beaker now so we can precipitate it. I've got my vacuum line hooked to a 2-liter flask with a stopper, and I've got a draw hose here. I'm going to stick it down in this beaker now and draw off the settled liquid. That's real clear. I'll still filter this, but it's been allowed to settle overnight, so it's all the sediment's settled out of it. Got a different flask to get the rest of it out of there. This is our solution, nice and clear. We'll filter it. Now I'm going to use this smaller flask to draw the rest of the solution out of the beaker here. Here's a close-up of what's left in the beaker. It's a few crumbs of gold here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add some hydrochloric acid to this. Maybe about 150, 200 milliliters. And then we're gonna put a squirt of concentrated nitric acid in here, about 3 milliliters. I'm gonna put it up on the heat, and we'll dissolve the rest of the solid material in that beaker. While I'm waiting for the rest of this to dissolve, I'll go ahead and start filtering the solution that we draw it off with the vacuum there. It should pour through the filter very quickly because it's been allowed to settle overnight and has very little sediment in it. This pulled through the filter very quickly. Only took about 2 minutes to pull all this solution through that filter. Now I'm going to filter this solution here. I'm going to swap the flasks out. Use the same filter. Pour this solution through the same filter now. And this is slowed way down now. It's been filtering for about 15 minutes. This was the second flask. The filter paper is loaded up now and slowed the filtering process down. Up here, I've got this remaining pieces of gold dissolved. I'm going to move this flask out of the way. We'll pull this down off the heat now and let it cool. And then once this cools off, we'll pour it through the same filter. Okay, I've allowed this to cool off. I added a few ice cubes to it. Now what we're going to do is pour it right into our filter here that's loaded up. This is going to have some silver chloride in it, and we'll get the rest of this solution filtered out now. This is going to take a while to pull this through the filter. Alright, that filtering operation took about 5 hours to complete. There's the residue that's in the filter. Now what we're going to do is transfer the solutions to this beaker here. I've got some ice in there to cool everything down. I'm going to try to do this in one take here. Transfer the solutions into the beaker full of ice. Okay, I've got 4 liters of solution here with 20 troy ounces of gold in it. I've never tried to precipitate this much all at once. Here we go. First spoon of sodium metabisulfite going in. Just going to keep trying to add this until we get everything precipitated out. Those who are not familiar with the refining process will notice here that I haven't added any urea or any other chemicals to neutralize excess nitric acid in that gold solution, because there is no excess nitric acid in the solution. I used just enough nitric acid to just dissolve all the gold. And that's a valuable refining technique. It eliminates having to denox the solution. Okay, I'm seeing the familiar white foam there, and the solution looks like it's cleared up good. I think I've got everything to come down now. What I'm going to do is test it here with a little bit of stannous chloride testing solution. Got a piece of filter paper. Dip that in. We'll put some stannous chloride test solution on this. And we get no reaction. That tells me all the gold has been precipitated out of here now. Okay, we've got it all precipitated now. What I'll do is let this settle out completely. And we'll pour off the waste solution and get the gold out of the beaker there. It's been allowed to settle now for about an hour. I've got a big 4-liter flask here. What I'll do is draw off the waste solution off the top of the gold into this flask now. This will go in my stock pot. I'm going to rinse the gold with some hydrochloric acid here. Alright, now what I'll do is I'll put it up on the heat and let it come to a boil and rinse the gold off real good with this hydrochloric acid. Alright, this is allowed to boil for about 20 minutes. Hydrochloric acid. I'm going to pour this off into this flask here now. I'll save this liquid, put it in my stock pot. Here's our first look at the pure gold. I'll rinse this off with some distilled water here. And we'll put it back up on the heat and let this boil now. Try to clean some of that acid off of there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and pour off the distilled water rinse here. Some of the gold might come over with it, but that's okay. This is going in the stock pot. Here's a close-up of the pure gold. I'm going to add some more distilled water to it now. Do one more rinse with distilled water. And then we'll get this into a dish and dry it out. Melt it up into a bar. Okay, we're going to transfer the pure gold powder into this dish here carefully. And then once we get all this in here, I'll get all the water that I can out of there, and we'll put it up on the heat and dry it real slow. Draw off all the water that I can with this pipette. Alright, I've got most of the water drained off now. what we'll do is put it up here on the heat, on some low heat. And I mean real low, I don't want this spattering. And we'll dry this off real slow up here on this burner. This will take several hours. Okay, the gold has been completely dried now. Here's what it looks like. It's got a little bit of sodium metabisulfite that I didn't get completely rinsed out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move over here to the melt table. And we're going to go ahead and try to get all that gold in that melt dish and pour it into that mold. After getting all the gold in the dish, I realized that the torch was not going to get hot enough for me to pour that bar, so I stopped the melt. It solidifies too badly in there. There it comes. Yeah. It'll work. Alright, here's our piece of gold. Wasn't able to get it hot enough to pour it into the mold. I think the melt dish started melting there. But it's pure gold. Alright, I've got it bathing in a little bit of dilute sulfuric acid and distilled water here. That should dissolve off all the excess flux that's on there, and then we'll get it out of there, clean it up, and get a weight on it. Here's our giant gold hockey puck looking thing here. Bottom of it looks like the moon. Pure gold, probably close to 3/9 fine here. I couldn't get it melted and poured into a nice bar like I wanted to. Let's put it on the scale here and see what we got. Alright, I was expecting 611 grams. The actual weight is 604.4 grams. That'll be 19.4 troy ounces of pure gold. Okay, I've got an induction type furnace here, electric. I've got a brand new crucible. What I'm going to do now is sweat the gold into some water with my torch to make granules, and then I'll add the granules to the crucible and melt it and pour it into the mold to make a nice bar. Alright, we got 20 troy ounces of pure gold in here now. And what we'll do is we'll get this up into that electric furnace that I've got, melt it up. It gets a lot hotter than just a crucible with a torch. And then we'll be able to pour it into this mold up here and make a nice bar. Go ahead and get this into the crucible now, and we'll get this heating up and get it melted in this induction furnace. Here's our result. This is a little container I'm going to put on here. We're going to zero out the scale. And I've got some pieces of gold here that stayed in the crucible that didn't get poured out as I poured the bar into the mold. I'm going to put them on here because they're included with the weight of this bar. Alright, that's 12.2 grams. And then here's the bar. So we end up with 603.8 grams. 19.4 troy ounces of pure gold. Here's our bar. Came out pretty good. Alright, that'll conclude the video. this will conclude the video. I'm glad this one's over. I just wanted to do it one time for the experience to get a nice big chunk of gold. Current spot price of gold is about $1,400 per troy ounce. That makes the value of this bar just over $27,000 worth of gold. And this will be shipped off to the refiner before the video completes uploading. This will be gone. So I've got to sell it in order to pay back the money that I borrowed to buy the gold to make this bar. That'll conclude the video. Thanks for watching.